Hello everyone, welcome back. This is S.C. Coleman, author. And in this video, we are going to be talking about Aramark. Our first document is a Security and Exchange Commission document for the Aramark Worldwide Corporation, Form S4 Registration Statement. Jurisdiction of incorporation is Delaware. IRS Employee Identification Number is 23-3086414. Address is Aramark Tower, 1101 Market Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19107. Phone number listed is 215-238-3000. And then you have the Corporation Trust Company, of course, which is 1209 Orange Street, Wilmington, Delaware. And then you have Bart J. Coley, Esquire, Aramark Corporation, Aramark Tower, Charles I. Kogut, Esquire, Mario A. Ponce, Esquire, and Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett, 425 Lexington Avenue, New York, New York, 10017. So the first thing with this is we look at the date, July 17th, 2001. Now there's a couple questions that need to be answered, and there's a very obvious reason, or this document provides a very obvious type of evidence, specifically the motive or motives, a motive, behind the September 11th, 2001, 1911, or 9/11 destruction of the World Trade Center or Twin Towers. Of course, I find it interesting that 9/11 was the precursor to the use of 911 for calling quote-unquote emergency services. You would think that a single digit for emergency services would be more practicable and logical. Like, say, you hold down the number 9 even, or hold down 0, or something like that. But no, you have to type in 3 separate characters to quote call emergency services, and those 3 separate characters are 911, which is the date in which the World Trade Center was destroyed. I mentioned that in a previous video as well. However, this document unequivocally proves the factual motive, or one factual motive anyway, behind the Twin Towers, destruction of Twin Towers. The other thing, the main question that needs to be asked here is, regardless of what is presented here, and of what these individuals want you to believe is the case, the actual question is, what is the business of Aramark? They're not in the business of what they claim to be in the business of. And that, of course, when we get into the details, the question is, what actually is their business? Stockholders will vote on a merger of Aramark and our wholly owned subsidiary, Aramark Worldwide Corporation. To approve a merger between Aramark and its subsidiary, Aramark Worldwide Corporation, we plan to use a portion of our net proceeds of the public offering to purchase some of the new Class A shares received by you and our 401k plans in the merger. This is signed Joseph Neubauer, Chairman, except it's not actually signed. Now here we get into the first thing that is weird about this. Notice a special meeting of shareholders to be held on blank 2001. So either they didn't fill in the actual date or they blacked it out, and that's the same case in many areas. Bart J. Coley, Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary. And then we have the date of this proxy statement / prospectus is blank 2001. It is first being mailed to Aramark stockholders on or about blank 2001. Aramark files reports and other information with the SEC, but its common stock, which is subject to various restrictions, is not publicly traded. These questions and answers have been stated in conversational format. The questions are stated as if asked directly by an employee stockholder with the company representative responding. What are the basic elements of the proposal? The merger, which creates a corporate structure appropriate for a publicly traded company. The IPO, which helps the company to raise additional capital, and the tender offer, which enables the company to provide additional liquidity for its stockholders. The initial public offering price will be determined by negotiations between the company and the investment bankers who are underwriting the IPO. And the next part. The following table summarizes more significant differences between the old Class B common stock and the new Class A common stock. New Class A common stock. Prohibitions on hedging transactions, including buying a put option or selling a call option. A hedging transaction is a transaction where you effectively lock in a sale price to avoid the risk of future price decrease. After the expiration of the applicable sale restrictions, your new Class A shares will be freely tradable and will convert upon sale into the unrestricted new Class B shares. There will no longer be an internal market. Stock owned by you and your permitted transferees is subject to call by the company if you terminate the employment. The stock is repurchased at the most recent appraisal price. That is the old Class B common stock. The new Class A common stock has for sale, none. The put under the old Class B common stock is under the stockholders' agreement upon your death, disability, or normal retirement, up to 30% of your shares can be put to the company for sale for cash at the most recent appraisal price. The put is subject to the limitations of the company credit agreement. And for the new Class A common stock, none. And as we continue, under future option grants, will we have new employee incentive stock plan? Yes, the Aramark 2001 Equity Incentive Plan is a new stock ownership plan that is being proposed by the Board of Directors for approval by the company's stockholders. Will I or my estate be able to require Aramark to repurchase my shares upon my retirement, death, or disability? No. That put right is a provision of the current stockholders agreement, which will be terminated. What shares can I sell in the trade tender offer? If you choose to sell the shares pledged to your bank as collateral for a loan, you must obtain authorization from your bank to release the shares. The bank will allow you to substitute non-pledged shares for pledged shares in order to release those shares for sale. Will there be tax consequences? This is the big one. From the merger for non-U.S. resident stockholder who is not a U.S. citizen. As described above, the merger will not be taxable transaction for you for United States federal income tax purposes. Furthermore, based on the advice the company has received from its tax advisors, it believes for stockholders subject to tax in Belgium, Canada, Hungary, Mexico, and the United Kingdom, the merger will not be a taxable transaction. For stockholders subject to tax in Germany, the merger may be deemed a taxable sale of your current Class B common stock, in which case gain is measured by the difference between the value of your current Class B common stock at the time of the merger and your basis in that stock. We understand, however, that all gain due to stock held for more than 12 months and 50% of the gain due to stock held 12 months or less is exempt from German taxation. And then there's also a section about people from Spain. The reason why that I believe is a big deal is, of course, because where is the United Nations headquartered? Luxembourg, Germany, and Belgium, mainly. Where can you find more information about us? Northern Regional Office, 7 World Trade Center, Suite 1300, New York, New York. And then we have Christopher Hardwick, Aramark Tower, 1101 Tower Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19107. Now, of course, they want you to believe certain things about the Aramark Corporation and the term Aramark and what they're alleged to be doing. But here's the main question, of course, is what is their actual business? What are they actually in the business of? because it's not what they claim to be in the business of. Another question is was this company at the time, prior to September 11th, 2001, was it a real company with real employees and real people and a really large staff and all that, who owned shares and controlling votes and whatnot, and the motive of September 11th was not simply to, as they say, project them into international markets or whatnot. Essentially, the idea would be, did they outgrow the control of real shareholders, stockholders, whatever, with votes? Did they outgrow the control of the, quote, employees and decide to make a move and take over practical control of the company from employees? Or was none of this ever actually real, and the whole thing is designed as a completely fictitious cover generated by CIA sorts of individuals who can invent whatever they want, and it gets written off and signed off by other officials simply because it's a cover identity for hanky clandestine activities. So those are some questions that need to be answered, right? Are the people involved real? Were there really people? Is this whole thing a complete facade, right? Nothing substantial to it? Or if there is something substantial, was that? And I would of course say, if there was something substantial, then it was definitely still a front in some capacity, and the obvious intent behind this has been the same intent as everything else that we understand to this point. So among the events, and the fact that this is dated before, even though there's a lot of stuff that either was redacted or never filled in, this is dated before, of course, September 11th, 2001. So in here we, of course, have some, let's say, paragraphs that don't age well. Our strategies. Capitalize on favorable outsourcing trends. Worldwide annual demand for outsourced food and support services and uniform services estimated to exceed $400 billion. Oh, imagine that. Considering what happened after September 11th. Our markets continue to grow as more organizations decide to outsource non-core support services, and we believe we are well positioned to capitalize on this trend. Our strategy includes identifying and educating existing and potential clients in current and new sectors of the benefits of outsourcing non-core activities. We seek to increase consumer participation in per capita spending primarily through innovative marketing and merchandising programs directed at the ultimate consumer of our services, and we seek to increase our sales to existing clients by expanding their use of our broad array of services. We believe we can continue to expand margins through the increasingly efficient use of our workforce, the application of information systems, expanded purchasing and inventory management programs, and increase in-house uniform manufacturing. We believe that the significant size and the low penetration rates of international markets present a substantial growth opportunity. We intend to increase our presence in these places in which we currently operate and to expand into additional countries. Increase penetration of international markets. Pursue and integrate strategic acquisitions. We intend to continue to strengthen our existing business through additional acquisitions and strategic investments in the United States and other countries. We believe this offering will better position us to take advantage of strategic opportunities by providing a publicly traded security and by increasing our financial flexibility. If you are participating in the Retirement Savings Plan, the RSP, or the Uniform Career Apparel Group Retirement Savings Plan, a UCA plan, you may direct voting of shares allocated to your account by executing and returning to U.S. Trust Company, N.A. Voting instructions are included with proxy statement/prospectus. Holders of a majority of issued and outstanding shares of our common stock present in person or by proxy will constitute a quorum for the transaction of business at the special meeting. And of course the question being, are any of these people actually real? Perhaps so, perhaps not. Either way, the U.S. Trust Company or the Corporation Trust Company or whatnot is the entity that can act, quote unquote, in the name of the U.S. government, meaning placing U.S. government as their name without anyone else being aware that in fact it's the Corporation Trust Company or the U.S. Trust Company or whatever in so-called court proceedings. Now, here's something really weird that I haven't been able to answer up to this point still. Why does this company have a significant increase in revenue during the period of 1999 to 2000, which of course is Y2K, the scare or craze that went about computer clocks or something like that? Whatever it was, anyway. They have a significant increase from that period, roughly around like 500 million or something like that. Where before that they were going steady. They didn't have much of an increase or decline in general. But at that, in those 2 years, 1999 to 2000, they had a dramatic increase. It seems kind of odd. At least that's what's listed here. Of course, they could be lying. Under risk factors are a certificate of incorporation and bylaw provisions and several other factors could limit another party's ability to acquire us without the approval of our board of directors and deprive you of the opportunity to obtain a takeover premium for your shares. For example, our certificate of incorporation provides that stockholders may not act by written consent and may not call a special meeting. Isn't that interesting? Now, why would they want to do that? Right? Considering it's a, quote, employee-owned company, except it's really not. Our certificate of incorporation provides for a classified board of directors. That's a big one right there. Why would they want what is a classified board of directors? And authorize the issuance of preferred stock without stockholder approval and upon such terms as the board of directors may determine. Sounds like this company is owned and operated by the board of directors, doesn't it? And by that classified board of directors, one has to wonder what exactly that is. The rights of the holders of Class B common stock will be subject to and may be adversely affected by the rights of holders of preferred stock that may be issued in the future. Quite ridiculous stuff right here. And our international business results are influenced by currency fluctuations and other factors that are different than in the U.S. market. A significant portion of our sales is derived from international markets. During fiscal 2000, approximately 14% of our sales were generated outside the United States. The operating results of our international subsidiaries are translated into U.S. dollars, and such results are affected by movements in foreign currencies relative to the U.S. dollar, such as the inclusion of the euro, or, of course, war, which decreases the value of certain things like the, I don't know if they were using it at the time, but the Iraqi lira, or the Afghani dinar. I think it was the dinar, I'm not sure, I might be getting those wrong. Our international operations are also subject to other risks, including national, provincial, and local regulatory requirements, such as the risk of nationalization of private enterprises and potential imposition of restrictions on investments, and local political and social conditions. Wonder what that means. Well, I really don't. I know what it means, but just a rhetorical question. Our indebtedness may restrict certain growth opportunities. As of March 30th, 2001, on a pro forma basis, we would have approximately blank billion of outstanding indebtedness. That's in the billions, and it's not filled in. That's kind of weird. Services we provide in connection with governmentally funded entitlement programs. Of course they have governmentally funded entitlement programs. Typical. A portion of our sales, estimated to be approximately 50% in fiscal 2000, is derived from contracts with U.S. federal, state, and local governments and agencies. While we have significant international presence, should business sector clients require multinational bidding, we may be placed at a competitive disadvantage because we may not be able to offer services in as many countries as our competitors. A portion of our food and support service business, which provides services in public facilities such as stadiums, arenas, amphitheaters, convention centers, tourist and recreational attractions, is sensitive to an economic downturn, as expenditures to attend sporting events or concerts, take vacations, or hold or attend conventions is funded by to a partial or total extent by discretionary income. Yeah, the rest of that's not particularly important. And here we get into the really heinous activities, other than, of course, destroying an entire building and killing thousands of people and instituting warfare and causing general mayhem and conflict. Parent trust and referrals by other parents are very significant in the maintenance and growth of our business, and any decrease in trust or referrals can adversely affect our business. We are periodically subject to litigation, alleging negligent hiring, training, or supervision, inappropriate contact with children, or other acts arising out of alleged incidents at our centers. Claims in the past have been covered by insurance. However, our insurance premiums may increase substantially in the future as a consequence of conditions in the insurance business generally, or our situation in particular, and continued publicity with respect to alleged instances of child abuse in our industry could result in our inability to obtain insurance without a substantial increase in cost. Furthermore, current future insurance coverage may not protect us against all such claims. So, I know we are talking about child harvesting. That's definitely apparent. Now the next page, capitalization. We have this line, as adjusted for the merger and the public offering, assuming blank shares offered an offering price of blank money per share and gross proceeds of blank million. And so there's no actual information there under the capitalization heading. Capitalization comes from the word capo, or a copy, or a ball cap, right, meaning head. So we have been, most people use the word capitalization without even thinking of the origin of it or having any clue about its etymology. I don't really like that word, but either way, it's a word for head, a head, cap. And we say ball cap, and that's a ball head, I suppose. It's pretty strange. Total debt is listed at $1,797 million, and total capitalization is listed at $1,971.1 million. So the bulk of that, quote, capitalization is going to be debt, which is interesting. And I wonder what that relates to specifically with the ability for alleged stock or shareholders in the company to take out loans using their voting shares as collateral. In certain of our sectors, large organizations are increasingly deciding to outsource, having previously provided such services themselves. Some recent examples of our success in capitalizing on new or expanded outsourcing opportunities include the following. The Department of Corrections of the state of Florida decided to outsource to us a virtually statewide food service contract, increasing the number of facilities we serve from less than 10 to 129. Yeah, go figure. In the last 2 years, we have been awarded national uniform contracts by Boeing, Safeway, and Walmart. At our client locations, we also serve established third-party branded products from Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Subway, Dunkin' Donuts, and from other well-organized national, regional, and local brands. An example of our product enhancement capability and ability to increase per capita spending is the strategic use of nationally recognized specialty coffee brands such as Starbucks, Seattle's Best, and Java City. We plan to expand our presence and penetration in each of the 14 countries outside the United States in which we operate, for example, in Germany. Interestingly, they selected Germany first. I wonder if that has anything to do with it being headquartered for the United Nations. Well, and one of course, they say the United Nations headquarters in New York, but we know that's not to be true. Not to mention you have Wolters-Kluwer, which becomes G4S. Well, actually, no, that's Wackenhut becomes G4S. Wolters Kluwer, being the Corporation Trust Company, or the Corporation Trust Company, or the Corporation CT Corporation System, CT Corporation System and Corporation Trust Company are Wolters Kluwer, which is of course based out of Germany and is pretty much owns the United States. We believe that acquisitions, strategic alliances, and joint ventures are effective in facilitating our entry into new countries. One recent example of this strategy is our entry into fiscal 2001 in a partnership with Dublin-based Campbell Bowley Group. And they always present this face of, they had competition and it was difficult. It wasn't sure whether it was going to happen or not, but yeah, right. Historically, our lack of publicly traded security, our need for funds to repurchase stock from our employee stockholders, and our leverage have limited our ability to make acquisitions. So obviously they're attempting to present one perspective to this, but in actuality, the true perspective to it is quite a bit simpler, actually. We own 50% of SMG, a leader in providing outsourced management of public assembly facilities, including arenas, stadiums, and theaters, as well as convention, exhibition, and trade centers. Our One World Cafe has been established in more than 100 school districts, offering student-friendly merchandising. A Detroit school district in 2001 made the decision to outsource its food service needs, and we were successful in winning this business. What a surprise, but not really. And here's the kicker. We have increased our presence in this sector by recently acquiring certain assets of Correctional Food Service Management, the food service division of the Wackenhut Corporation, or Wackenhut, however you want to say that, which, as I've done many different separate analyses of the Wackenhut Corporation, and have discovered, of course, that it is simply a front of the CIA based out of universities. So the CIA itself could be a front for universities, and then the Wackenhut Corporation is then a private prison, steal people and put them in and force them into labor so that they can make like license plates and things like that. And that was run by the CIA, allegedly, which I believe was run by the universities, because all the CIA offices were at universities. Imagine that. And then the Wackenhut Corporation became G4S, which is out of the Netherlands or something like that. Oh, and of course I forgot about the Netherlands as being a central focal point for the United Nations. Of course, the other one, Wolters Kluwer, is the Netherlands. So I was getting that a little bit mixed up with Germany, I think. Either way, the implications here of work with the Wackenhut Corporation, which is already definitively in the documents released during the JFK files release, even though that was a separate classification and this had nothing to do with the JFK files, it has been definitively shown through corroborative evidence and other separate business filings and whatnot to be a CIA outfit. So, of course, if they acquire the food service management from the CIA outfit, then logic would show that that's what this is. Another CIA front, basically, to engage in some particularly disturbing, treasonous, and disgusting behavior. In addition, in the international segment, we also provide lodging, food service, commissary, and facilities management in remote sites such as mining camps. Aerocor is an affiliate in South Korea. We purchased these items through Cisco Corporation pursuant to a National Master Distribution Agreement, which I will go over later in a different video. Cisco is responsible for tracking our orders and delivering products to our specific locations. Boy, this is really quite long. We own a minority interest in Aerotex Corporation, which provides uniform rental services in Japan. Our uniform and career apparel rental segment serves businesses of all sizes in many different industries. Our customers include companies such as American Airlines Incorporated, Safeway Incorporated, and Walmart Stores Incorporated. We provide reusable and disposable garment programs, and we're the first national clean room garment provider to have ISO 9002 certification at all of our clean rooms. The loss of any one vendor would not have a significant impact on us. That's an interesting thing to mention in their document. That, oh yeah, not a big deal if we lose a vendor because it won't make any difference. Weird. In connection with the provision of our services, we have developed or acquired long-standing brand name recognition through our Apparel One, WearGuard, and Crest uniform programs. We typically serve our rental customers pursuant to written service contracts from an initial term of 3 to 5 years. Crest is a leading supplier to the quick service restaurant industry and is the largest domestic supplier of uniforms to McDonald's Corporation. We conduct our direct marketing activities principally from our facilities in Norwell, Massachusetts, Roanoke, Virginia, and Lexington, Kentucky. We operate the highest percentage of child care centers accredited by the National Association of the Education of Young Children, NAEYC, among the major community health care providers. We also operate 8 private elementary schools in 7 states under the Meritor, Academy, and Warren Walker brand names. Branded under the name Children's World, our early care and education business serves approximately 75,000 children from 50,000 households at approximately 625 centers. Our largest presence is in Minneapolis, 43 centers, Denver, Boulder, 44 centers, Chicago, 45 centers, and Dallas-Fort Worth, 42 centers. So yes, like I said, child harvesting. That's going to be their biggest and possibly most important objective here. We have the patents, trademarks, trade names, and licenses that are necessary for the operation of our business as we currently conduct it. Other than the Aramark name, we do not consider our patents, trademarks, trade names, and licenses to be material to the operation of our business. Interesting thing to say. We utilize Hyperion financial tools to aggregate financial data across our business segments. Our principal executive offices are located at Aramark Tower, 1101 Market Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19107. Our principal real estate is comprised primarily of educational and child care facilities, of which a significant number are held under long-term operating leases. Aramark Worldwide Corporation currently is a wholly owned subsidiary of Aramark. Prior to the public offering, Aramark will merge with and into Aramark Worldwide Corporation. Aramark Worldwide Corporation will survive the merger and will be renamed Aramark Corporation. Isn't that interesting? You have a subsidiary acquiring the parent, which is rare to see that. And they're both, of course, having their names changed to Aramark Corporation. So that's the what I call name laundering, which you find in multiple business filings, is the idea that the names change, particularly with the benefit of making it difficult to track down the different entities. And along with the name changes, you have fraudulent signatures, you have fraudulent licensing, you have a boatload of other types of fraud along with those name changes, making the job to track down something without the original source extremely difficult. So you're trying to track them to the original source, and with all the name changes and everything else, that makes it increasingly difficult, and that's the purpose to it, of course. Under management, we have Joseph Neubauer, Lawrence T. Bobbio Jr., Patricia C. Barron, Robert J. Collender, Leonard S. Coleman Jr., Ronald R. Davenport, Edward G. Jordan, Thomas H. Keene, James E. Nasnak, and James E. Preston. Joseph Neubauer has been our Chief Executive Officer since February 1983 and Chairman since April 1984. He was our President from February 1983 to May 1997. He is a Director of Verizon Communications Incorporated, formerly Bell Atlanta Corporation, Signal Corporation, Federated Department Stores Incorporated, and First Union Corporation. Lawrence T. Bobbio Jr. has been Vice President or Vice Chairman and President of Verizon Communications Incorporated, formerly Bell Atlanta Corporation, since July 2000. He was President and Chief Operating Officer of Verizon from December 1998 until July 2000. He is President and Chief Executive Officer of Verizon's Network Group and Chairman of Verizon's Global Wireless Group from August 1997 until December 1998. From January 1995 to August 1997, he was Vice Chairman of Verizon Communications, and prior to that, he was Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Verizon. He's a Director of Compaq, with the Q, Computer Corporation. Patricia C. Barron has been a clinical associate professor at the Leonard N. Stern School of Business of New York University since September 1999, and prior to that was an executive in resident and senior fellow. She was vice president of business operations support of Xerox Corporation from April 1997 to July 1998. From 1995 to 1997, she was president of engineering systems of Xerox Corporation. From 1992 to 1994, was president of office document products of Xerox Corporation. She is a director of Quaker Chemical Corporation. Boy, they need some looking into. Teleflex Corporation, Ultralife Batteries Incorporated, and United Services Automobile Association. Interestingly, USAA is also the name for a so-called military-friendly bank, USAA. Robert C. Callender was executive and resident in the Business School of Columbia University from 1992 to June 2000. He was president of Chemical Bank and Chemical Banking Corporation from August 1990 to June 1992. He is a director of Omnicom Group Incorporated, Scudder Global High Income Fund Incorporated, Scudder New Asia Fund Incorporated, the Korea Fund Incorporated, the Brazil Fund Incorporated, and the Argentine Fund Incorporated. Sound like money laundering schemes, of which these all are really. Former Governor Thomas H. Keane was the governor of the state of New Jersey from 1992 until 1990. He is a director of the Merada Hess Corporation, Fiduciary Trust Company International, the Pepsi Bottling Group Incorporated, and the United Healthcare Corporation. Well, that's not a name that ages well either. Bart J. Coley, Executive Vice President, General Counsel, and Secretary, joined in 2000. John J. Zillmer, Executive Vice President, joined in 2000, and John M. Lafferty, Senior Vice President, Controller, and Chief Accounting Officer, also joined in the year 2000. Bart J. Coley joined us in February 2000 as General Counsel and was elected as our Executive Vice President and Secretary in March 2000. Prior to joining us, he was a partner with McCarter and the English LLP since 1985. And John J. Zillmer was elected as our Executive Vice President in May 2000. He was the President of our Business Services Division from May 1995 to August 1999 and became President of our Food and Support Services International Division. He became President of our Food Support Services Division in May 2000. John M. Lafferty joined us and was elected as our Senior Vice President and appointed Controller and Chief Accounting Officer in August 2000. Prior to joining us, he retired as a partner from Arthur Anderson LLP, where he had been partner since 1977. Boy, isn't all that particularly interesting information there. And this document's huge. There's a lot more possibly even pertinent information in here. But for the sake of brevity, we'll move on to the next in our documentary sequence. This next document is a memorandum of understanding between the Coastal Carolina University and Aramark Educational Services LLC and the city of Myrtle Beach. Now what's interesting here is we have up at the top M2021-26. That looks like a classification marking of some sort, or a form designation. I don't know. They're sort of the same idea, classification markings and form designations. It is being classified as a form in some sort of way, so that's sort of how that works. But usually, of course, classification, as most people understand it, refers to secrecy, documentary secrecy. All right, so this document here, this Memorandum of Understanding MOU is made by and between Coastal Carolina University, hereinafter CCU, Aramark Educational Services LLC, CCU's current food service provider, hereinafter Aramark, and the city of Myrtle Beach. CCU is a public, comprehensive liberal arts institution of higher education in Conway, South Carolina. And Aramark is an American food service, facilities, and uniform services provider to cities and areas including education, healthcare, business, prisons, and leisure. And Aramark is CCU's current contractor and exclusive provider of food service operations and catering services, including but not limited to the supervision of the procurement, preparation, and serving of food and food products. and providing all the management personnel, food, products, supplies, equipment, materials, technical support, training systems, and effort necessary for the management of food service operations at a level of quality acceptable to the University of Coastal Carolina University's campus. The City of Myrtle Beach created the City of Myrtle Beach Emergency Management Division, hereinafter MBEMD, to develop and coordinate emergency response plans for the city, working closely with county, state, and local officials to gather resources necessary to overcome a disaster or emergency situation. CCU agrees to permit the City of Myrtle Beach and Aramark to enter into an agreement for the provision of food services during emergency events, so long as such agreement and or performance resulting from said agreement does not in any way interfere with Aramark's services to Coastal Carolina University. It is understood that this agreement in no way and under no circumstances relieves Aramark and its duties and obligations to CCU, nor does it supersede any existing contracts between CCU and Aramark. This MOU shall be effective for a term commencing on January 1st, 2021 and ending on December 31st, 2021. CCU will allow Aramark to use CCU's food service equipment and facilities to prepare meals for MBEMD during emergency events as long as Aramark's service to the city at Myrtle Beach and or its MBEMD does not disrupt or interfere with Aramark's duties and obligations to CCU. CCU shall remain responsible for the management of and costs associated with the food service and other operations Aramark provides to CCU pursuant to solicitation number 54000190004 and the food services contract awarded to Aramark on or about July 17, 2020. CCU shall not be held liable in any way whatsoever for any services Aramark provides to the City of Myrtle Beach and or its MBEMD, or Aramark's failure to provide services to the City of Myrtle Beach and or its MBEMD. Aramark agrees that CCU's needs and requests shall at any and all times take precedence over any needs or requests from the City of Myrtle Beach and or its MBEMD. Aramark understands and agrees that nothing in this MOU shall supersede any current or future contracts between CCU and Aramark. In the event of any conflict or inconsistency between the terms of this MOU and any agreement between the City of Myrtle Beach and Aramark, the terms and provisions of this MOU shall control. Aramark will indemnify and hold harmless Coastal Carolina University and its current and former trustees, directors, officers, agents, employees, students, and volunteers from third-party claims for bodily injury, including but in any way limited to death, property damage that may arise from Aramark's negligent use of the facilities and or services provided under this MOU. Before entering into the agreement, the City of Myrtle Beach shall submit the proposed agreement to CCU for review to ensure the contract does not on its face interfere with the services Aramark is contractually bound to provide to CCU. In the event of any conflict or inconsistency between the terms of this MOU and the agreement between the City of Myrtle Beach and Aramark, the terms and provisions of this MOU shall control. The City of Myrtle Beach shall, at its sole expense, purchase and keep in force at all times during the term of this agreement a policy or policies of insurance issued by an insurance company of generally recognized responsibility and license to do business in the state of South Carolina, ensuring against liability for property damage arising or alleged to arise out of any activity or failure to act by the City of Myrtle Beach in connection with this agreement. Each party understands and acknowledges the ease with which COVID-19, including variants thereof, spreads among infected individuals, including individuals who are asymptomatic, the impossibility of guaranteeing complete protection from COVID-19 for its employees, customers, students, business invitees, and patrons, and the inherent risks associated with its operation during the COVID-19 pandemic. In this regard, each party assumes any and all risks associated with COVID-19 as to its business operations, employees, customers, students, business invitees, and patrons. I don't think there needs to be much said about that nonsense of COVID, that Trojan horse. The continuation of this agreement is contingent upon whether the General Assembly appropriates sufficient funds from year to year, thereby providing Coastal Carolina University with the fiscal ability to maintain an operative food services program on campus. The contract shall automatically terminate if such funds cease to be allocated or available for any reason. All reports, information, or data furnished to, prepared, assembled, or caused or used under this agreement are to be held confidential, and the same shall not be made available to any individual or organization without the prior written approval by CCU, the City of Myrtle Beach, and Aramark as appropriate, except as authorized or required by applicable law, rule, regulation promulgated by a government and or judicial authority having jurisdiction. There's a bunch of nonsense. This MOU shall be binding upon and inure to the benefit of the parties hereto and their respective successors, and permitted assigns. This MOU shall be deemed to have been executed in South Carolina for the purposes of jurisdiction. Any litigation concerning this MOU shall be conducted at the South Carolina Court of Common Pleas in the Horry County, South Carolina. All notices or other communications required or permitted to be given under this MOU shall be in writing and shall be deemed to be given to the party when received or rejected by the addressee if sent by certified mail, postage prepaid, and return receipt requested. If to Aramark Coastal Catering, Liberty Jackson Student Union, Suite B-102D, 100 Spadoni Park Circle, Conway, South Carolina. With a copy to Aramark Higher Education, Chief Finance Officer, Aramark. If to a City of Myrtle Beach, Tom Guire, Myrtle Beach Fire Chief, with a copy to William Bryan, City Attorney, 937 Broadway Street. Global Headquarters, 2400 Market Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19103. That's a different address from the Aramark Tower. If to CCU, Carlos C. Johnson, Senior VP and University Counsel, Post Office Box 261954. So that's an attorney listing a post office box. Interesting. Meals prepared on Coastal Carolina University campus will be delivered to the city's designated emergency response centers in accordance with schedules as agreed upon by both parties. Uniforms and identification shall distinguish Aramark's personnel from other service providers. The next document is from the County of Placer. To the Board of Supervisors from David Bosch, County Executive Officer, Becky Regan, Deputy County Executive Officer, November 8th, 2016. Subject is Correctional Food Services. Actions requested. Number 2, approve the award of RFP number 10533 for the full delivery of correctional food services to Aramark Correctional Services, LLC. Authorize the procurement manager to sign a 5-year contract in an amount not to exceed $13 million from February 1st, 2017 to January 31st, 2022, with 3 additional 2-year options upon risk management and county council concurrence and all required procurement documents. Adopt a resolution delegating authority to the county executive officer to lay off probation food service employees based on a necessity due to lack of work pursuant to Placer County Code. Correctional food service has become an increasingly complex service area due to AB 109, which allowed for the long-term housing of inmates in the Placer County jail system that had previously been in the state prison system. As set out in the Placer County Charter, the board may establish a system of priorities and levels of service which are provided between departments and contract for services typically provided by county employees whenever it's more economical to do so. Aramark Corporation provides food services to more than 2,200 K-12 schools and colleges, 2,000 hospitals and senior living facilities, 350 sports and entertainment venues, and 5,400 businesses, dining locations. They are the largest provider of correctional food services in the state of California, with 17 county jail clients and over 20 years of experience in the cook-chill approach to large-scale meal production. Based on the initial comparison of the Aramark cost proposal to the probation department budget, staff estimated a potential cost savings of up to $5.9 million over the 5-year contract term. 12 county employees are impacted by the decision, including 9 cooks, a senior cook, a food service supervisor, and a food service manager. Currently, 6 of the 12 potentially impacted staff have applied for other positions within the county. Because there are no other cook positions in the county, administratively reassigning the potentially impacted employees to other positions is not possible. Before the Board of Supervisors, County of Placer, State of California, November 8, 2016. Placer County approves the award of the request for proposal to Aramark Corporation and its entering into the agreement with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC, to be the sole provider and coordinator of the correctional food service program operating from the food service kitchen in the South Placer Jail. The next document is the County Board Addendum for the County of Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, from Tuesday, December 18th, 2007. The Lyle Shields Meeting Room, Brookins Administration Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana. Adoption of Resolution Number 6328, Emergency Budget Transfer, Fund 076 Tort Immunity Tax Fund, Department 075 General County, to pay November 2007 work comp payroll premiums. 11. Adoption of Resolution Number 6329, authorizing an amendment to the operating agreement with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC for food and commissary services at the Champaign County Correctional Center and food services at the Juvenile Detention Center. An immediate emergency exists within the following fund. The following amendment has not been approved by the Finance Committee, and the Department has requested immediate action by the County Board. Request for budget amendment. The signature is from 12/13/07, and the signature line is unreadable, with no printed name, mind you. You have a workers' compensation insurance in the amount of $4,855 from the 076 Tort Immunity Tax Fund, and the Department is 075 General County. Signed 12/13/2007, what appears to be a Daniel Darnall, I'm not sure, it's very hard to read that, L. Boosie. That seems to be the name written there. Resolution authorizing an amendment to the operating agreement with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC for food and commissary services at the Champaign County Correctional Center and food services at the Juvenile Detention Center. The Champaign County Board and the Champaign County Sheriff did on October 8, 2007 enter into an operating agreement with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC to provide food and commissary services at the Champaign County Correctional Center and food services at the Juvenile Detention Center. And the County Board of Champaign County authorizes the County Board Chair and the Champaign County Sheriff to enter into the amendment number 1 to operating contract with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC for food and commissary services. Amendment number 1 to operating agreement food and commissary services. Amendment number 1 to the operating agreement food and commissary services entered on this 18th day of December 2007 by and between the County of Champaign, Illinois, body politique, hereinafter referred to as County, whose main office is 776 East Washington, Urbana, Illinois 61802, and Aramark Correctional Services, LLC, hereinafter referred to as Aramark, with offices located at the Aramark Tower, 1101 Market Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19107. Parties entered into an agreement in the management of the food and commissary services operated at the Champaign County Correctional Center and food services at the Champaign County Juvenile Detention Center on October 18, 2007. Pursuant to paragraphs 5A and 5B of the agreement, the per meal prices charged to the county shall be charged as a result of changes in the Consumer Price Index and set forth in Attachment C. Listed names are Michael Morgione, Vice President of Finance, C. Pius Wable, County Board Chair, and Mark Sheldon, County Clerk and ex officio Clerk of the Champaign County Board. As of July 1st, 2019, the County of Williamson, Texas, with offices at 1821 East Inner Loop, Suite 1, Georgetown, Texas, 78626. And Aramark Correctional Services, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company having a place of business at 2400 Market Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19103. The county hereby grants to Aramark the exclusive right to provide food service, including vending machine operation for the county's inmates, staff, and visitors at the Williamson County Juvenile Justice Center located at 200 Wilco Way, Georgetown, Texas, 78626. The county shall, at its expense, provide Aramark with adequate preparation kitchen, office, and storage facilities at the facility, completely equipped and ready to operate, together with such heat, refrigeration, and utility services, including telephone and internet service, as may be reasonably required for the efficient performance of the agreement. The county shall furnish building maintenance services for the facility and shall provide preventative maintenance and equipment repairs and replacements for the county-owned equipment. Should the county fail to provide the equipment, Aramark may, in its discretion and at its option, choose to provide and bill the county for such equipment. Emergency plan. Aramark shall submit a contingency emergency plan to provide for meal services in the event of a force majeure hereinafter defined within 60 days after the commencement of operations. In the event of a force majeure, the county shall assist Aramark by permitting reasonable variations in Aramark's menu cycle and service methods. However, Aramark shall not be relieved of its responsibility to provide meal service under the terms of this agreement. The term force majeure means any war, riot, or other disorder, strike, or other work stoppage, act of terrorism, fire, flood, or any other act not within the control of the party whose performance is interfered with and which may be reasonable diligence such party is unable to prevent. Aramark shall purchase and pay for all food service products, and kitchen cleaning supplies products purchased for use in the food service operation shall be the property of Aramark. Aramark shall be responsible for daily cleaning and housekeeping in the food preparation service, receiving, and storage areas, and shall on a continuing basis maintain high standards of sanitation. The county shall provide janitorial services outside the kitchen facilities provided to Aramark. The county shall clean the vents and ductwork leading to the roof from food preparation areas. The county shall be responsible for extermination services and the removal of trash and garbage from the designated food service area. Aramark shall provide on-site management and supervisory personnel, and from its regional headquarters locations, administrative, dietetic, purchasing equipment, and consulting personnel service, advice, and supervision. The county shall provide inmate workers at the facility kitchen. Number of inmates required shall be determined by the county liaison and Aramark's district manager prior to the commencement of operation. The county agrees that management and supervisory employees of Aramark shall neither be hired by the county for the term of this agreement and 12 months thereafter, nor shall the county permit management and supervisory employees of Aramark to be employed in the county's premises for a period of 12 months, subsequent to the termination of this agreement, unless such employees were formerly employees of the county. Aramark shall provide and maintain the following insurance coverage: workers' compensation insurance, property damage of $1 million per occurrence. Aramark may satisfy these requirements through a combination of primary and excess coverage. The county and Aramark waive any and all right of recovery from each other for property damage or loss thereof, however occurring. The waiver shall include but not be limited to losses covered by policies of fire, extended coverage, boiler explosion, and sprinkler leakage. Such insurance coverage shall not cover liability in connection with or arising out of the wrongful or negligent acts or omissions of the county or its officers, employees, or agents and servants. In no case will any Aramark employee act in the capacity of designated person within the meaning of the Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act, AHERA, which duties remain solely with the county. The county shall indemnify and hold harmless Aramark, its subsidiaries, and affiliated companies, and their respective directors, officers, and employees against any liability related to or arising out of any defective condition or the presence of hazardous substances or pre-existing conditions on or at the facility or the surrounding premises, or the claimed or actual release or threatened release or disposal of hazardous substances from or at the facility, to the extent not caused by the willful misconduct or grossly negligent acts or omissions of Aramark, its employees, its subcontractors, including without limitation fines, penalties, cleanup costs, or costs of other environmental remediation measures. The county shall provide reasonable and adequate physical security at all times for Aramark employees, suppliers, management, and other authorized visitors. The county represents and warrants that it is a tax-exempt entity and further agrees to provide evidence of its tax-exempt status to Aramark upon request. In the event that a determination is made by a government authority that any sales, purchases, payments, or use of property made to by Aramark under this agreement, either in whole or in part, is subject to any sales, use, gross receipts, property, or any other similar tax, which tax is not contemplated by the parties at the commencement of operations hereunder, the full amount of any such tax liability, together with any interest paid by Aramark, shall be invoiced by Aramark and shall be reimbursed by the county, notwithstanding the fact that this agreement may have expired or been terminated for any reason. The per meal prices stated in this agreement are firm for the period beginning on the effective date and ending on June 30th, 2020. And per meal prices for each subsequent 12-month period shall be increased on each anniversary of the effective date by an amount to be mutually agreed on and set forth in the amendment to this agreement in the form attached hereto on Attachment B. Food, beverage, and other services required or desired by the facility outside the scope of this agreement, including fresh favorites, shall be provided by Aramark upon written authorization by the county and or sheriff at mutually agreed upon prices for such services. Payment shall be made by check payable to Aramark Correctional Services, LLC. The financial arrangements in this agreement are based on conditions existing as of the effective date, including any representations regarding existing and future conditions made by county in connection with the negotiation and execution of this agreement. If such conditions change to cause beyond Aramark's control, including but not limited to a change in the scope of Aramark services, menu changes, a decrease in the facility's inmate population, or the availability of inmate labor, efforts to organize labor increases in food, fuel, equipment, utility supply and labor costs, federal, state, and local sales and other tax and other operation costs, a change in federal, state, and local standards, requirements, recommendations, and blah, blah, blah. Any regulations including any applicable child nutrition programs or other unforeseen external market conditions outside Aramark's control, then Aramark shall give a county written notice of such increase or change within 90 or 30 calendar days after such notice. The initial of this term of this agreement shall commence on July 1st, 2019 and shall continue through June 30th, 2020. The county's obligation to pay for meals and services provided shall survive the termination or expiration of this agreement. Upon the expiration or any termination of this agreement, the county agrees, if requested by Aramark, to purchase Aramark's usable inventory of food and supplies. All notices or other communication hereunder shall be deemed to be duly given when in writing, delivered in person, or deposited in the United States mail, postage, prepaid, certified mail, return receipt, requested and addressed to the party at its respective addresses first set forth above, or such other addresses as may designate by notice given as aforesaid. All financial, statistical, operating, and personal materials and information included but not limited to software, technical manuals, receipts, menus, and meal plans, policy and procedure manuals, and computer programs relatively to or utilized in Aramark's business, collectively the Aramark proprietary information, are and shall remain confidential and the sole property of Aramark and constitute trade secrets of Aramark. The county shall keep all Aramark proprietary information confidential and shall use the Aramark proprietary information only for the purpose of fulfilling the terms of this agreement. The county shall not photocopy or otherwise duplicate any materials containing any Aramark proprietary information without the prior written consent of Aramark. Aramark may assign this agreement in its sole discretion to any of its affiliates without any consent being required. The term affiliate means any corporation, limited liability company, or any other person controlled by or under common control with Aramark. Neither Aramark nor county shall disclose the terms of this agreement to any other person or entity outside its organization. Neither county nor Aramark and its affiliates shall use the other party's name, logo, trademark, or otherwise refer to or identify the other party in any publicity matters relating to the services. Documents expressly incorporated as if copied in full with this agreement include the following: Williamson County RFP number 1903-307, which is incorporated here as if copied in full. Aramark response to RFP 1903-307, which is incorporated herein. Blah, blah, blah. This agreement may be executed in counterparts, of each of which shall be an original, but all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Signatures of the parties may be exchanged by PDF or facsimile, and such PDF or facsimile signatures shall be deemed originals in all respects. Aramark Correctional Services, LLC, Mark R. Adams, Vice President of Finance, 6/13/2019. County of Williamson, Texas, State of Texas, Valerie Covey, Presiding Officer. And interestingly, there's a price per meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are $3.62. However, for snack, it's $2.448. It's a weird way to write that. Why would you add the extra decimal point there as number 8? Why wouldn't you just make it $2.44? Why is it $2.448? Very weird. Williamson County, Texas, effective July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. And here we've got a template. So that concludes this video on this particular subject. But I think the evidentiary understanding is pretty clear about what's going on with this supposed entity.